Welcome back to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed and finding those aha moments in even the densest material. Today, we're taking on a truly unique set of sources. The profound and deeply personal reflections found in the last lecture by Randy Pausch, written with Jeffrey Zaslow. This isn't just a book, it's a living legacy.
It truly is. Randy Pausch, a beloved professor at Carnegie Mellon, was facing a terminal diagnosis, pancreatic cancer.
Ooh.
And he chose to deliver what he called his last lecture. But here's the thing, it wasn't about dying, not at all. It was entirely about living. So our mission for this deep dive is to really extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from his extraordinary story. We're going to focus on concepts that are, easy to grasp, deeply insightful, genuinely entertaining, and crucially, immediately applicable to your daily life. It's really a masterclass in how to live with purpose, even when you're facing life's ultimate deadline.
That's exactly right. We'll explore his surprising facts, his unique humor, and the profound wisdom he shared. It's almost as if he's speaking directly to you, the listener, helping you understand what truly matters and how to maybe achieve your own dreams. This isn't some dry academic exercise. It's more like a guide, right? For navigating the complexities of life with this incredible sense of purpose and, joy.
And what's fascinating here is that the book itself is actually an extension of that lecture. It was distilled from, get this, 53 phone conversations Randy had while riding his bike. Can you imagine?
Wow, while riding his bike.
Yeah, every single moment counted for him. He famously described it as putting himself in a bottle that would one day wash up on the beach for my children. It was his way to make sure they knew him, knew his values, even if he wasn't going to be there. So this deep dive is like our way of opening that bottle for you so you can access his distilled wisdom and make it your own.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this incredible journey and see what actionable lessons we can carry forward from Randy Pausch's extraordinary life. So many professors, they engage in this common campus exercise, giving what they call a last lecture. It's usually hypothetical, right? A kind of thought experiment, musing on what matters most if it were their final opportunity to speak. But for Randy Pausch, this was absolutely no hypothetical scenario. This was his last chance. The urgency, the stark reality of his situation, it just infused every single word with this profound, almost spiritual meaning.
Precisely. Randy had just months to live. Pancreatic cancer had spread aggressively. I mean, an army of tumors invading his liver. It was bad. And the sheer finality of that situation, it really forces a question upon all of us, doesn't it? What wisdom would you impart if you knew it was your absolute final opportunity? For Randy, the answer was crystal clear. He needed to create a legacy for his 3 young children, Dylan, Logan, and Chloe. They were 5, 2, and 1 at the time, just tiny. Too young to really remember him otherwise. So he wanted to encapsulate everything he would have taught them over the next 20 years, give them a concrete, living understanding of who he was and what he truly valued.
Now, this wasn't an easy decision, especially for his family. Randy's wife, Jai, understandably, she resisted the idea initially, and you can absolutely empathize with her perspective, right? She wanted him to spend his precious remaining time with them as a family, just be present. And get this, her 41st birthday fell on the very day he had to travel for the lecture. Yeah. So for her, any time spent on the lecture felt like lost time, time stolen from those irreplaceable moments together. It was a real, deeply human tension.
And this tension, if we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it really highlights a universal challenge. It's all about balancing that personal purpose, that passion, with family needs, especially under immense pressure or like in dire situations. Randy addressed Jai's concerns with this powerful metaphor that really sticks with you. He said, an injured lion wants to know if he can still roar. For him, it wasn't about ego, or some fleeting recognition. It was about dignity, self-esteem, and leaving a tangible, authentic mark for his kids so they could understand who he was and what he cared about. It was his way of continuing to contribute, really, to define himself not by his illness, but by the vibrant life he had lived and the lessons he still had to impart.
That's such a poignant detail, isn't it? It really makes you think. How do you, listening right now, balance your personal ambitions with your family obligations? When you're faced with difficult decisions or seemingly insurmountable challenges, what truly drives you? Randy's story shows us that even in the face of death, that urge to contribute, to define one's legacy, it can be incredibly powerful. It forces this profound prioritization of what truly matters in your life.
And crucially, Randy made a very explicit point about this lecture. He didn't want it to be about his cancer or, about coping with disease, none of that. Instead, he declared it had to be about living.
Right.
He realized that his unique path, the very essence of who he was, it came from fulfilling his childhood dreams. And that became the core theme, really achieving your childhood dreams. He hoped his story, told with passion and authenticity, would help others find their own paths to fulfilling their own aspirations. And this really embodies his focus on making complex concepts easy to grasp. How? By rooting them in personal, relatable experience.
That's a vital distinction, yeah. It wasn't some pity party. It was more like an instruction manual for living life to its absolute fullest. And here's an interesting detail about his process, which tells you a lot about his teaching style, too. He built his PowerPoint presentation with a staggering 300 images.
300?
Yeah, and almost no text script. He designed it that way specifically to trigger his stories, to allow for spontaneity and heartfelt delivery. In essence, he was creating this visual memoir for his children, designed to transcend time and illness and speak directly to them and, well, to us too. Okay, let's dive into some of those specific dreams and the foundational lessons they imparted, because they're surprisingly universal, actually. Randy attributed much of his ability to live out his dreams to his parents. He famously called it winning the parent lottery.
Didn't we all wish we could say that?
Yeah, right. His mother, she was an old-school English teacher, instilled high expectations, pushed her students hard, didn't tolerate complaints. And his father, a WWII medic who served in the brutal Battle of the Bulge, he was a true hero. And he fostered this infectious inquisitiveness in Randy, always pushing them to find answers.
And what's truly fascinating here is the power of that foundational upbringing. It wasn't just formal teaching. His parents cultivated this culture of curiosity and self-reliance just through their daily lives. Randy famously quoted his father saying, "If you have a question, then find the answer. Open the encyclopedia. Open the dictionary. Open your mind."
Love that.
Isn't it great? And it wasn't just a quaint anecdote. It's a powerful lesson in cultivating lifelong learning as a daily habit. It encourages active engagement with knowledge rather than just passive acceptance. His father would even bring out the dictionary during dinner, making learning this continuous, integrated family activity. Yeah. It makes you consider, doesn't it? How do you foster curiosity in yourselves or those around you? Do you actively encourage finding answers, or do you just passively wonder and leave questions unanswered? This really highlights intellectual engagement in a daily habit, not just some formal pursuit you do at school or work.
Building on that idea of parental influence, Randy shared this wonderfully quirky anecdote about his bedroom when he was a high schooler. He painted his walls with all sorts of wild ideas. There was a quadratic formula,
Naturally.
a rocket ship, Snow White's mirror, but with a sassy twist, apparently, and even a 6th-floor elevator in his single-level ranch house. He painted the panel with the 3 illuminated. It sounds like pure chaos to most parents.
And here's the kicker, right? His father encouraged this creativity just by smiling. Didn't say a word, just smiled. His mother eventually relented, acknowledging Dad usually won these kinds of battles anyway. But this seemingly quirky detail, it raises an important question for all of us. What seemingly unconventional outlets for creativity do we, or maybe our children, suppress in the name of order or practicality?
Good question.
Randy saw the elevator not just as a prank, but as a symbol of the balance in my life between aspiration and pragmatism, which is pretty deep for a painted elevator. And his direct advice to parents from the lecture was profound. If your kids want to paint their bedrooms, let them do it. It'll be okay. Don't worry about resale value on the house.
That hits home for a lot of people, I bet.
It really makes you think about what we prioritize, doesn't it? Things like resale value or fostering imagination and self-expression.
That's a fantastic example of radical self-expression being enabled by parents. Love it. Now, one of Randy's earliest and most enduring childhood dreams wasn't actually to be an astronaut.
Oh.
No, just to experience floating in zero gravity, that sensation. And decades later, he actually achieved this by finding a loophole in NASA's Vomit Comet program.
The Vomit Comet. Classic. How'd he manage it?
Well, NASA rules stated that faculty couldn't fly with students on this particular program. So he creatively resigned as the faculty advisor for his student team.
No.
Yep. And then he applied as a journalist, promising NASA good publicity for the program in return for a seat.
That is brilliant. This story is such a perfect illustration of tenacity and creative problem solving when you're facing what seems like an impenetrable brick wall.
Absolutely.
He found a way around this brick wall by really understanding the system, the rules, and then offering something of value. The lesson here is so profound and applicable. Have something to bring to the table because that will make you more welcome.
Right. Offer value.
Exactly. He provided value publicity to achieve his goal. He turned a definitive no into yes. And this principle, this mindset, it also applied to his relentless pursuit of working for Walt Disney Imagineering. He was initially rejected there too.
Really? Imagineering.
Oh yeah. But he kept his mantra. The brick walls are there for a reason. They're not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something.
Wow. Powerful framing.
Isn't it? It's about seeing obstacles not as dead ends, but as challenges for your ingenuity. A test of how badly you truly want something. It's not just about brute force, but strategic thinking. What can I offer? What's the real rule here? Is there a loophole somewhere? It makes you consider, doesn't it, how you approach similar obstacles, those brick walls, in your own life. Do you give up or do you look for the cracks?
Randy also had this deep love for football, played since he was 9 years old. And while he didn't make it to the NFL, obviously, he claims he learned more from pursuing and not accomplishing this dream than from many he actually did accomplish.
That's fascinating. Failure as a teacher.
Exactly. His coach, Jim Graham, was famously old school, like really old school, focused relentlessly on fundamentals, fundamentals, fundamentals. He would even start practice without a football, just asking the players what the other 21 guys on the field were doing at that moment, making them think positionally.
And the pivotal lesson came from an assistant coach. He saw Randy getting ridden really hard during practice, pushed to his limits. And the assistant told him, when you're screwing up and nobody says anything to you anymore, that means they've given up on you.
Oof, that's intense.
Right. But it highlights the critical importance of tough, honest feedback, even when it's uncomfortable to hear, or maybe even uncomfortable to give. Coach Graham also believes self-esteem isn't just given, it's built. Built by overcoming challenges, not by being coddled. Randy recalls the coach dumping a bucket of water on the ground to show them how little effort they were putting in, how little sweat they'd produced. He emphasized that such humiliation, while uncomfortable, it actually motivated them to work harder. Push them.
So it makes you consider, do you seek out honest feedback even if it's critical, or do you shy away from it? And maybe on the flip side, do you provide it to others, recognizing it as a sign of care, a sign you haven't given up on them, rather than just an insult?
It's about understanding that tough love, when delivered with care, can be a powerful catalyst for improvement, for forging true self-esteem. And this ties directly into his later role as an educator, right? Yeah. Where he famously described himself as a recovering jerk. He acknowledged his own past arrogance and the absolute need for his mentor, Andy Van Dam's, tough love to set him straight.
Ah, the Dutch uncle.
Exactly, Andy Van Dam. He viewed professors as personal trainers, demanding effort and providing honest feedback, because he knew that genuine assessment, not empty flattery, builds real confidence and skill.
That's such a powerful thread, isn't it? Connecting his childhood sports experience directly to his teaching philosophy years later, and brings us to another of his childhood dreams, one that kind of shifted his focus from just personal achievement to enabling others. Randy dreamed of being Captain Kirk from Star Trek.
Live long and prosper.
Exactly. But not because Kirk was the smartest guy on the ship, that was clearly Spock, but because of his unique skill set, leadership. Kirk delegated, he inspired passion, he established the vision, and importantly, he was in charge of morale, keeping the team going.
What's truly fascinating here is Randy's breakdown of leadership. It's not always about having the most technical expertise. Often it's about enabling others to do their best work. He learned from Kirk that a true leader knew what he didn't know, was perfectly willing to admit it, and didn't want to leave until he understood. That humility and curiosity.
That's key.
Absolutely. And this principle was reinforced for him years later when William Shatner himself, Captain Kirk, visited Randy's VR lab at Carnegie Mellon. Shatner apparently asked tons of questions, just showing this genuine curiosity. It really impressed Randy. He found that humility and eagerness to learn truly heroic qualities.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's an interesting quote Randy held onto from the Star Trek movie The Wrath of Khan. He didn't believe in the no-win scenario. Shatner even sent him a photo with this inscription during Randy's cancer treatment.
Wow. That must have meant a lot.
Immensely. It speaks volumes about approaching challenges not as insurmountable brick walls, but as problems to be solved creatively, often by leveraging the strengths of your team, your crew.
That focus on enabling others really did shine through in his work, didn't it? You mentioned he found enabling others' dreams even more fun than achieving his own sometimes. He recounts mentoring Tommy Burnett, a student who dreamed of working on Star Wars films, even though back in 1993 there were no plans for new Star Wars movies.
Right, seems like a dead-end dream at the time.
Exactly.
But Randy gave Tommy tough coaching, much like his old football coach, emphasizing not just being smart, but being a team player, being someone people want to work with. and Tommy was eventually hired by Industrial Light and Magic. But here's the interesting part. Not directly for his Star Wars dream, but for his practical skills. Specifically, Python programming, which happened to be the language ILM was using.
So the skills opened the door.
Precisely. And then he did get to work on the new Star Wars films once they came around. Tommy later told Randy's students something really telling. Getting to work with Randy and learn from him, that's some kind of luck right there. Which beautifully illustrates that old saying Randy loved. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Preparation meets opportunity, yeah.
It's a great reminder for all of us, isn't it? To think about what transferable skills you're building right now. Skills that might unexpectedly open doors to your own dream jobs, even if the direct path isn't immediately clear. And this focus, this passion for enabling others, it also led him to create the Building Virtual Worlds class, or BVW.
Right, the interdisciplinary one.
Exactly. Intentionally bringing together students from diverse disciplines, actors, engineers, sculptors, you name it, pushing them to be truly creative with minimal rules, which eventually led him to co-found the Entertainment Technology Center, the ETC, which he lovingly called a dream fulfillment factory.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about navigating life's adventures, especially the tough parts. Randy's medical odyssey began in 2006. He learned of his terminal diagnosis from CT scans. He specifically saw this horrifying CA 19-9 tumor marker result 208. The healthy normal is under 37.
Oof, that's stark data.
And he discovered this while, in classic Randy fashion, snooping on his own medical records on a hospital computer he probably wasn't supposed to be using.
Huh. Of course he did. But his reaction, and Jai's, it really highlights the stark reality of getting that kind of life-altering news. He was apparently quite rational, immediately trying to count the tumors on the scan, the engineer and him taking over, while Jai was understandably hysterical, just completely overwhelmed.
Who wouldn't be?
Exactly. But he really admired his oncologist, Dr. Wolf, for his compassionate yet truthful communication. Especially how Dr. Wolf reframed that impossible question, how long before I die? He reframed it as, you probably have 3 to 6 months of good health.
Focusing on the positive time remaining.
Precisely. It parallels a Disney World rule Randy mentioned. The park is open until 8 p.m. Not, the park closes at 8 p.m.
Subtle but significant.
It really is. It's a profound shift in perspective that impacts how you live, how you approach every single remaining moment. It makes you reflect on how you process difficult news yourself. Can you find ways to reframe challenges positively? Or, extract some sense of control from seemingly uncontrollable situations?
It really is all about that shift in perspective, isn't it? There's this other story. One morning after his diagnosis, Randy got an email from a colleague, Robbie Kosak. She described seeing him driving his convertible earlier, top down, just bobbing his head to music, looking completely contented, like genuinely happy. She didn't know he'd actually seen her watching him, so it confirmed his positive emotional state in a completely unguarded moment.
That's fantastic, like an external validation. This story acts as this crucial feedback loop for Randy. It assured him that his positive outlook wasn't just an act he was putting on for others,
Yeah.
It affirmed that he was still fully engaged and still knew life was good, even with everything going on. It shows the power of external validation, sometimes from unexpected sources, in helping you assess your own emotional state, especially when it's hard to know if you're genuinely okay or just, putting on a brave face.
Yeah, trusting those authentic moments.
Exactly. It encourages you to trust those authentic moments of joy as genuine indicators of your resilience.
Now, here's a really deeply personal lesson about prioritizing people over possessions. It came from Randy's philosophy as a bachelor uncle. For his niece and nephew, Chris and Laura, his message was crystal clear. People are more important than things, always. So when his sister warned the kids to be super careful on his brand new convertible, what did Randy do?
Oh, I have a feeling I know where this is going.
He deliberately poured a can of soda all over the back seat, right in front of them.
Wow. That is dramatic, but effective.
Totally. This act sent this undeniable message. The car was just a thing. A utilitarian device, not some precious expression of social status.
And this actually helped his nephew feel no guilt later when he accidentally got sick in the back seat during the flu. Because, hey, the car was already christened, right?
Exactly. No big deal.
And this philosophy, it extended right into his marriage, too. Remember when Jai accidentally crashed their minivan into his convertible?
Oh, yeah. The I Love Lucy moment.
Right. She spent all day setting the scene to confess. But his reaction was calm. Told her not to worry about repairs. Their dented cars became, as he put it, a statement in our marriage, Not everything needs to be fixed. Sometimes imperfection is fine.
Love that.
Really makes you consider, doesn't it? What things in your own life might you be prioritizing over people or experiences? Is the perfect car more important than the relationship?
That's such a powerful way to live out your values. Tangibly. And then there's this profound lesson Randy learned from his own father, but only after his father passed away. Randy discovered this hidden secret, a Bronze Star citation for heroic achievement from World War II.
A Bronze Star? Wow.
Yeah, his dad, serving as a medic, had treated wounded soldiers with complete disregard for his own safety under heavy enemy fire. True heroism.
And what's truly fascinating, just mind-boggling here, is that Randy's father never mentioned this valorous act. Not once. In 50 years of marriage or conversation.
Incredible humility.
Isn't it? It just exemplifies profound humility and sacrifice. Randy saw it as yet another lesson from his father, even after his death. A lesson about the meaning of sacrifice and about the power of humility, teaching him that true impact doesn't always need recognition or fanfare. It doesn't need the spotlight.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what hidden acts of quiet heroism exist in your own family history or among the people you know right now? It encourages a deeper appreciation for those unsung heroes and the quiet virtue of humility, suggesting that true impact often comes from quiet dedication and selflessness, not shouting from the rooftops.
Randy also candidly discussed Jai's incredible strength and honesty in dealing with his illness. It wasn't easy for her, obviously. She even learned hilariously to bring him data instead of just gut feelings to get his scientific mind to relent on things, like providing statistics about the flu risk for a planned Christmas visit to his family, rather than just saying, "I'm worried."
Smart adaptation, and their counselor gave them some really practical advice, too. Basically, let some of the little stuff slide, given the prognosis. Choose your battles. So Jai started writing in a journal when Randy's messiness bugged her, rather than starting an argument about it. It illustrates the creation of a new normal in a marriage facing terminal illness, focusing on what truly matters and conserving precious emotional energy. Jai also actively focused on living in the moment, inspired by others' experiences, and realizing that, quote, it's not helpful if we spend every day dreading tomorrow.
Living in the moment. Easier said than done sometimes.
Absolutely. But it makes you think about how you navigate conflict and those minor annoyances in your own relationships, especially when you're under stress. Can you identify what truly warrants attention and what could be let slide or maybe processed privately like Jai did? It's a powerful lesson in practical relationship management and mindfulness, prioritizing peace and connection over being right about the small stuff.
Okay, let's transition to some of Randy's core guiding principles for how to live life. He was famously hyper-efficient and logical about time management, which obviously became even more critical given his finite time. He shares this anecdote about a $16.55 double charge at a self-checkout machine. He noticed it, but just left it unresolved. Why?
Because
he explicitly valued 15 minutes more than $16. That's how much he fixated on his limited time.
Wow. That puts it in perspective. And he shared several practical postsisms on time management that are highly applicable to all of us, really. He advised managing time explicitly, like you manage money, have a plan, even if it changes, and constantly ask yourself, are you spending your time on the right things? He used the example of seeing a pregnant woman smoking while protesting construction noise from jackhammers, illustrating a disconnect between addressing a symptom, noise, versus the root cause, her health choices affecting the baby.
Right, focus on the important stuff.
Exactly. He also advocated for developing filing systems. Find things quickly. Rethinking the telephone use speakerphone. Call people right before lunch so they keep it brief. And delegate early and often. And his honeymoon message for his bosses was legendary.
That was it.
Basically, if it's a real emergency, call Jai's parents. If they agree it's an emergency, they have my number.
Brilliant. Did he get any calls?
Nope, not a single one. It set a clear boundary.
Love it.
These are concrete, actionable strategies, right, for valuing and optimizing your time, urging you to focus on high-impact activities and distinguish between the merely urgent and the truly important.
Building on that theme of efficiency and intentionality, Randy firmly believed that if you just took 1/10 the energy you put into complaining and applied it to solving the problem, you'd be surprised by how well things can work out. He cited these really inspiring examples, like Sandy Blatt, a quadriplegic man who became a successful marriage counselor without ever complaining about his situation, and Jackie Robinson, who endured horrific racism by vowing not to complain, just to work harder and let his playing do the talking.
It's such a powerful ethos. Complaining does not work as a strategy. Simple as that. He argued, we all have finite time and energy. Any time we spend whining is unlikely to help us achieve our goals, and it won't make us happier.
True. Complaining rarely feels good afterwards.
Right. It's a reminder to redirect that energy. Think about it. What problems do you tend to complain about? What if you redirected that energy into active problem solving, or just increased effort instead? This challenges you to embrace a solution-oriented mindset and acknowledge the sheer futility of unproductive complaining. And along those same lines, he also taught that honesty isn't just moral, it's incredibly efficient.
How so?
Well, it saves time. Time you'd otherwise spend double-checking things, trying to remember what you told whom, covering your tracks. He observed that liars often think they got away with it, when in fact they didn't. People usually know or find out. So this emphasizes that integrity builds trust, which is efficient. And it's a long-term strategy for success. It reduces friction and complexity in all your interactions.
That's a great practical link between core values and everyday efficiency. I like that. Randy also believed in radical transparency, especially in group work. His motto was, put all my cards on the table, face up. He even had this standard one-page handout he gave students called Tips for Working Successfully in a Group. It included things like meeting properly, finding common ground first, having optimal meeting conditions, apparently. Food softens meetings.
Always bring snacks.
Right. Letting everyone talk, checking egos at the door, praising each other, and phrasing alternatives as questions, not demands.
And he wasn't above using what he called cheesy theatrics to get the point across. Like, he'd ask students in his class why they weren't sitting with their assigned groups for a project. Then he'd dramatically walk out of the room and demand they physically move their chairs together before he'd continue.
Making the point visually.
Exactly. Driving home the importance of the fundamentals of teamwork. It raises an important question for all of us, really. What fundamental habits, basic courtesy, clear communication, do we sometimes overlook because we think, oh, I already know how to work in a group? Sometimes a dramatic reminder or just a conscious review of the basics is needed. It makes you consider how effective you really are in group settings. Could reviewing and applying these simple kindergarten fundamentals significantly improve your collaborative efforts? Probably.
Now, here's a truly beautiful piece of advice Randy received. It came from John Snoddy, his mentor at Disney Imagineering. Snoddy told him, if you wait long enough, people will surprise and impress you.
That requires patience, doesn't it? It means having patience, maybe even for years, because, as Randy interpreted it, almost everybody has a good side. Just keep waiting, it will come out. This really challenges that common tendency we all have sometimes to quickly judge or dismiss people based on initial frustrations or perceived flaws. It encourages a more charitable view.
Wait for the good side to emerge.
Yeah. It makes you reflect. How quickly do you write people off when they frustrate you? Can you cultivate more patience? A belief in others' inherent good qualities, even if they're hidden sometimes. It's a powerful lesson in empathy and adopting a more generous view of human nature, understanding that people can evolve and often surprise you if you give them the chance.
And this connects beautifully to another piece of wisdom he championed, something so simple. Sometimes all you have to do is ask.
Yes. The monorail story.
Exactly. At Disney World, Randy's father thought ordinary people couldn't possibly ride up front in the monorail nose cone. Seemed exclusive. Randy, as a kid, just walked up and asked the attendant, and they said yes.
And his dad was completely flabbergasted. Couldn't believe it was that easy.
Right. Randy joked, I said there was a trick. I didn't say it was a hard trick.
It's so true, though. This simple principle, sometimes all you have to do is ask, apparently led to really significant moments in his life, including meeting a lifelong mentor just by asking, and eventually even meeting his wife, Jai, by being bold enough to ask her out persistently. It reminds you, doesn't it? Be bolder in your requests and inquiries. How often do we assume something is impossible without even trying to ask? The answer, sure, might be far more common than you expect.
Randy also championed the power of showing gratitude. He argued it's one of the simplest yet most powerful things humans can do for each other. And he was a huge advocate for handwritten thank you notes. A lost art, maybe.
Definitely feels like it sometimes.
He advised his students that a B-plus student who sends a thoughtful handwritten thank you note after an interview or interaction could easily elevate themselves to an A in the eyes of an admissions officer or a future boss. Why? Because they're so rare and memorable. They stand out.
And he had a great story to back this up. He recounted an applicant to the Entertainment Technology Center, the ETC, who was right on the borderline, almost rejected. But then Randy noticed something. She'd sent a handwritten thank you note to one of the non-faculty staff members who had helped her during her visit. It wasn't a strategic suck-up note to someone in power. It was a genuine act of kindness and appreciation to someone often overlooked.
Ah, showing character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Done without expectation. It showcased her character, her thoughtfulness, and that simple act led to her acceptance and eventually her landing her dream job as a Disney Imagineer. Character, not just calculation.
Wow, the ripple effect of a thank you note.
It makes you consider, how consistently do you express gratitude? Particularly in a way that stands out, feels genuine, and truly reflects appreciation. It reminds you of the profound impact of simple, genuine acts of appreciation. They can lead to unexpected opportunities and foster deep, lasting connections. And remember, after Randy got tenure, a huge career milestone, what did he do?
He took his whole research team to Disney World.
His entire 15-person team. For a week. As a thank you. When a questioning colleague asked how he could possibly afford it, his response was perfect. These people just worked their butts off and got me the best job in the world for life. How could I not do that?
Paying it forward.
Totally. He saw it as paying forward the mentorship he'd received himself. Living that principle. Go out and do for others what somebody did for you. Create that cycle of gratitude and support.
That's a truly tangible, impactful way to express gratitude. Amazing. And speaking of impact, Randy was also a big believer that experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted.
Ah, the mantra for dealing with failure.
Exactly. He learned it at Electronic Arts, the game company. It emphasizes that failure is not just acceptable, it's often essential. You learn from it.
And he put this into practice in his Building Virtual Worlds class. He actually gave out an award called the First Penguin Award.
The First Penguin.
For a glorious failure. It celebrated the student team that took the biggest creative gamble, the biggest risk, especially if they failed to achieve their stated goals.
Rewarding the attempt, not just the outcome.
Precisely. This concept is incredibly powerful, especially in innovation. He pointed out that startup companies often prefer to hire a chief executive with a failed startup in his or her background. Why? Because those leaders know the pitfalls. They've learned invaluable, hard-won lessons from those failures.
They have the experience they didn't want, but now it's valuable.
Exactly. It makes you think about how you view failure. Do you see it as a dead end? Or as invaluable experience? It encourages a mindset that embraces calculated risk, learns from setbacks, and values the wisdom gained from attempts that don't succeed, seeing them as stepping stones, really, rather than stumbling blocks.
As we near the end, let's talk about legacy and purpose. Randy's greatest sadness, understandably, was that his young children, Dylan, Logan, and Chloe, would grow up without a father physically present. So he focused intensely on making unforgettable memories with them in the time he had left. Things like swimming with dolphins, meeting Mickey Mouse, creating those sharp, positive recollections they could hold on to.
And he profoundly understood that a parent's job is to encourage kids to develop a joy for life and a great urge to follow their own dreams. Not the parents' dreams for them.
That's a key distinction.
Absolutely. His explicit dream for them was incredibly selfless. He basically said, kids, don't try to figure out what I wanted you to become. I want you to become what you want to become. Full stop. He also wanted them to know his memories of them, fill my head, and that he loved them completely and differently, acknowledging their unique individuality. It encourages you to reflect, doesn't it? On your own dreams for the young people in your life, your kids, nieces, nephews, students. Are you truly encouraging them to follow their own paths, find their own passions? Or are you subtly, maybe unconsciously, imposing your expectations and desires on them? It's about empowering them to write their own unique stories, not live out a script you wrote for them.
Randy also openly acknowledged the immense burden on caregivers, specifically on Jai, facing his illness while raising 3 very young children. And during his last lecture, he did something incredibly touching. He surprised Jai with a birthday cake, remember? It was her birthday, and had the entire auditorium sing happy birthday to her. It was this public display of his love and deep appreciation for everything she was doing, a moment that apparently moved her and the audience deeply.
Yeah, a beautiful public acknowledgement. And they also discussed practical coping strategies for her, for the future, including that crucial advice you hear on airplanes. Put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others, giving her permission to prioritize her own self-care, which is vital for caregivers but often overlooked.
So important.
He reminded her she'd inevitably make mistakes as a single parent, and that was okay, and that no material possessions could ever make up for a missing parent, taking that pressure off. He encouraged her to allow others, like new Coach Grahams, into the kids' lives to provide positive male role models. And most importantly, perhaps most selflessly, he told her he wanted her to be happy in the future, whether that meant remarriage or not. Her happiness was paramount.
Truly selfless love.
Absolutely. And in their final embrace on stage after the lecture, Jai whispered something heartbreakingly simple to him. Please don't die.
Oh, man.
That raw, vulnerable moment just perfectly encapsulated the profound pain and the immense love within their relationship, facing the inevitable. It really makes you consider how you recognize and support the caregivers in your own life, or, if you are one, how you prioritize your own self-care. It's a powerful segment emphasizing selfless love, practical support, and the deep, often unspoken challenges faced by those caring for loved ones with terminal illness.
So Randy ended his lecture by revealing what he called 2 head fakes. Clever framing. The first head fake was this. It's not about how to achieve your dreams, it's about how to lead your life. If you lead your life the right way, the karma will take care of itself. The dreams will come to you.
That's such a profound shift in focus, isn't it? It's not about chasing outcomes relentlessly. It's about focusing on your character, your effort, your conduct now, trusting the process.
Right. Live right and the dreams follow. What was the second head fake?
The second head fake was that the talk wasn't actually just for the audience in that room, or even the millions who watched online later. He said it was for my kids. That was the ultimate audience. He concluded that his life's work, and especially this lecture, served as his way to say goodbye and provide that lasting legacy, that bottle on the beach. He understood, looking back, that he had things inside me that desperately needed to come out, recognizing his own profound need to share this wisdom before his time finally ran out. It really challenges you, listening now, to consider, how does your daily life, your daily conduct, reflect the kind of karma you want to generate? Are you living in a way that naturally attracts opportunities and fulfillment? It encourages you to focus on character and conduct, trusting that positive outcomes will naturally follow from a life lived with integrity, passion, and kindness.
You know, what's really fascinating here is how Randy Pausch, in facing his own mortality, managed to provide us with this incredible blueprint for living. It's filled with actionable advice, practical tips, and truly profound insights. From the importance of honest feedback, even when it stings, to the sheer power of persistence against brick walls, to the simple act of expressing gratitude. His last lecture truly serves as a guide for your own journey, for navigating life's challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think it means that by applying these lessons, by striving to be authentic, by embracing challenges instead of running from them, by consciously prioritizing people over things, and by always seeking to learn and grow, you can truly lead a life that attracts your own dreams. The dreams will come to you. Randy Pausch taught us that experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted, a valuable consolation prize, and that even in glorious failures, those first penguin moments, there's invaluable learning to be had.
He really showed us that living life the right way isn't necessarily about grand gestures or achieving perfect outcomes all the time. It's more about the accumulation of small, intentional choices you make every single day. How you treat people, how you manage your time, how you face setbacks. His story is such a powerful reminder that every moment is precious, and how you choose to live it, well, that truly defines your legacy. So here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a final thought for you to take away. If you knew this was your own last lecture, maybe not literally, but if you had one final chance to share your truth, what single, most important truth would you share with the world? And maybe even more importantly, how would you start living that truth right now, today?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this exploration of Randy Pausch's wisdom has given you both some actionable insights and maybe a renewed appreciation for living life to its absolute fullest.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep learning, and keep diving deep.